Am I the a-hole for telling my sister she has to raise her own baby? My 19-year-old college-age sister went to a party over New Year's Eve and got pregnant by a one-night stand. She doesn't know who he is, and for some reason she first thought that my parents would watch her baby while she finished college. My mom is often sick with Lyme disease, so they said no. Recently, over spring break, my sister told me I need to baby-proof the house. She told me not ask because my wife works from home so she could watch her baby while she finishes college. I told her my wife and I chose to be child-free, and my wife often does have to travel for work last minute. It's not a little last-minute travel. It could be to San Francisco, Austin, Chicago, Toronto, or Los Angeles in hours' notice. My sister got mad saying my wife could take the baby for her, or I could watch her baby then, or our parents could. My sister got extremely upset that no one is helping her out and it's too late to look for other options now. Well, I told my sister she should have never expected other people to raise her baby, and she needs to find other options and rethink going to a university out of state, and live with mom and dad for extra support. My sister said everyone is trying to crush her dreams, and maybe she should give her baby up for adoption. I told her maybe that's not such a bad idea, and it might be what is best for her and the baby. She now thinks I'm the worst brother in the world, but my wife and I decided to not have children, so we shouldn't be forced to raise my sister's baby. Now for the top comments. Not stay home. Your sister made a very adult decision to have a one-night stand and now has to live with the consequences. She either chooses to sacrifice for her baby or chooses to give the baby up. It doesn't sound like she's ready to be a mom, in my opinion. She also made a very non-adult decision to never use protection at any point, including the day after pill. Not stay home. It is her baby, so it is her responsibility. The thing about adopting the child out is an attempt at blackmailing you. Don't fall for it, even if she is serious about it. With a mom that irresponsible, the kid would be better off if she sucked it up and allowed a child to be adopted by someone with the time and resources to raise a baby. As for Opie, not his circus, not his monkeys. Not stay home. Your sister is 19 years old and had a fantasy in her head that having a baby would not change her life because everyone would help while she went out of state for school. Well, she's going to be a mother, and it's time for her to accept the reality that her fantasy of finishing school while her family cared for and raised her infant was just a fantasy. It's like she doesn't understand the consequences of having intercourse. Too many people are way too chill with it to the point unwanted children are thrown around all the time. Yeah, I get it. Be more positive about it, but that should come with the responsibilities. Next story. Am I the a-hole for calling my stepchildren my kids and upsetting my wife? I married my wife last year, after 4 years of dating, and we mixed our families. Her two boys, Dylan and Tyler, 16 and 11 now, and my girl Sam, 18 now. Our children accommodated to the idea of living together pretty well. Dylan and Ty's father and my wife got divorced when Tyler was born, and they agreed he would only have visitation rights. Around 2 or 3 years ago, Tyler called me dad while we were having dinner, and that night my wife asked me to correct her children when they call me dad, out of respect for their actual father. I found it weird, but I agreed to because in the end they're her children, although I never ended up doing it. This week, Dylan had a football match and Tyler a piano lesson, which my wife usually picks them up after. This time both she and I didn't have to work, so I suggested picking them up together. Dylan practically jumped to our car and then we all went to pick up Tyler, and since I was there, I decided to meet his piano teacher too. When she met my wife, Dylan, and me, she greeted us and asked me if I was the kid's dad. I sincerely forgot about that promise I made years ago and said I indeed was their father. My wife almost instantly corrected me with stepfather, and then Dylan said out loud, "Mom?" The return home was awkward, and when we arrived, she called me out for breaking the promise we had by saying I'm the kid's dad. To make it worse, this morning I noticed the kids are acting distant towards their mother, and they deliberately are calling me dad whenever she's around. I feel guilty because it's the first time there has been such tension between them and it's my fault. Am I the a-hole for calling them my kids? Your wife is working toward an estranged relationship with her boys. We can parent as much as we want, but we will never control our kids' feelings. She has assigned herself way too much power and her kids too little autonomy. We aren't talking about 6-year-olds. You didn't do anything other than step up to the place that another man abandoned. Not stay home. The whole goal of step-parenting is to have this kind of relationship. How can Opie's wife be so mad about something so many people would dream of having? Not stay home. She's upset because you are a father to her kids and love them and they love you back? I could understand their dad being upset, but not her. And honestly, not even him. If he has visitation, you live with them. He doesn't even visit them, so I actually would get mad if he protested. Haha. Not stay home. I would understand if he was still in the picture, but I don't understand why your wife would want them to call you stepdad out of respect for an absent father. He's done nothing to earn it, and nothing to earn the title of dad. On the other hand, clearly you have. Not stay home. If the kids think of you as dad, then you are dad. Dad is not limited to biological father. Why can't the kids have 2 dads? Also, it should be seen as the highest of compliments. Opie's wife should be thankful that her sons see and feel that way about their stepfather. It definitely isn't always the case. I know, right? You read/hear so many stories of dysfunctional blended families. It's so heartwarming they're calling Opie dad by their own choice. A weird reaction by the mom. Perhaps unresolved emotions around a boy's bio dad abandoning them? This is one case that counseling might make a positive difference. The whole family or just Opie and his wife. Suggesting it for only his wife probably wouldn't go over well. Lol. Good luck, Opie. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for threatening my sister-in-law to kick her out over an argument? Little backstory before going to the main thing. I, 27 male, have a brother, 31 male, who has a wife, 29, and son, 7. Our parents were divorced, so after their passing, I inherited everything from my mother and also half from father, but my brother also inherited the remaining half from my father. Shortly after inheriting my mother's house, I was quickly approached by one guy who wanted to buy the house. He already made an offer to my mother, but she didn't want to sell because she was living there and didn't want to leave. It's a 4-story house. That is a huge AF. Still had some rooms unfinished, and I didn't really want to live there. So I cashed out and bought a studio apartment in the city where I was working. My brother was renting a place in the very same city. Forward to the recent times, my brother is an engineer and had a solid job, until the beginning of 2020 where he got fired. Since then, he still hasn't found a job in his field. He started eating through his savings and asked me if I wanted to buy his half of the house/property. Dad's house is smaller but way nicer. Those last years of his life, he invested lots of money into the house and made a pool outside. I wanted to buy it off from him even before he offered it and planned to pay more than what he asked me. So I obviously accepted since it was a great deal and I somewhat helped him. Summer 2021. I guess my brother was running low on cash because he said that he can't afford the rent anymore. So he asked me if he could move in Dad's house. I wasn't using it that much, so I let him move in. 2022. I've been staying at Dad's house for the past month or so because I have some people working on demolishing some old buildings on the property. I get up early every day so I can be with the workers. I noticed that my nephew never has a breakfast before going to school, and also his parents never pack him anything. I asked him if he eats anything at school, and he said that he eats an empty croissant that he gets from the shop. Felt bad, so I started making him a breakfast and packing him a sandwich for school, along with some snacks and a drink. I've been doing it for the past 2 weeks. Yesterday, his mother saw him eating what I packed for him, and she said, "This explains why nephew wasn't hungry after school," and left the kitchen after giving me this weird look. After nephew left, she came back and lashed out at me, saying that he'll get fat, that I shouldn't give him junk food, that I made her bad in her son's eyes, and that I don't have her permission to do it. I told her that she's neglecting him, and that I will only stop it once she starts doing it. She then screamed at me, called me names, and told me to go back to my crap hole in my city. At this point, I was fuming, so I threatened her that I will kick them all out if she doesn't get her act together. Neighbor asked what was all this screaming about, and after I told him, he said that I'm not a parent and that I should stay out of it. Not stay home. You certainly should not stay out of it. I would speak to brother about it. A child should have 3 meals a day at least. Sister-in-law has probably only noticed because he is not starving by the evening meal. Speak to brother. If they don't change, call CPS. CPS will visit and educate them. If they still refuse, they will act in the best interest of the child. OP mentions in later comments that the child is only in school until noon. So the croissant is just for breakfast and he and his brother were raised the same way, and that it is normal in their culture. Granted, one croissant isn't enough for the kid and he needs to eat lunch before mom is home at 2. But it's not like America where the school has a lunchtime. I never said that it was normal. Pretty sure I was the only one in class eating an empty bun. English is not my first language. I don't know the word for it, but it was something similar to a hot dog bun/croissant. I don't think that we were poor back then. Everyone was working, and at the time both grandparents were alive and working as well. So I guess my parents were cheap and didn't care. That must be where your brother gets the idea that this is okay. But you didn't overstep. You fed their child, and from the way it's worded, I don't think you even complained to them about the cost/time of it. They should have been thankful. Why is she neglecting her child? Does sister-in-law have a job? Do they pay rent? You have every right to kick them out, but I'm wondering who will hurt most. Sounds like your nephew will be worse off. Not stay hold, but think about your next move carefully. She does. They don't pay rent, only bills. They're living rent-free in your house? What does your brother do all day? Because it's clearly not making his son breakfast for dinner. I wanted to write it, but I was over the character limit. My brother works in construction now as a laborer for his friend. He gets up around 5 a.m. But once he is back, he eats, takes a shower, and goes straight to bed. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my sister that her husband should be ashamed of himself? My sister's husband is always the one to always lecture everyone around him about manners and proper behavior, but he never does those things himself. He is very pretentious, and while my sister knows it, she enables him. Our mother, who's a 62-year-old woman, is working 12-hour shifts every day and comes home tired every afternoon. She works 5 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon and only has 1 day off. My sister gave birth to her baby 2 months ago and she is on maternity leave right now. Her husband is also working a 9-to-5 job. My sister has had to go to the doctor's appointments many times in the past few days, and she would leave the kid to her husband. But after the first time, her husband complained that he can't deal with the baby alone, so she should take the kid to our mother. That happened for 4 times straight, and my mother has expressed to my sister how tired she is and that she also needs a break. My mother ends up saying yes every time because she adores her grandchild and is heartbroken that my sister's husband doesn't do his job as a father. But my mom is indeed very tired. My sister completely ignores our mom's exhaustion and keeps bringing the baby instead of dealing with her husband. The last time this happened was 2 days ago. My mom had just come back from work and she was sleeping. Right when she fell asleep, my sister calls her and tells her she's gonna drop the baby by our house because she's got another doctor's appointment. My mom started sobbing and saying how nobody thinks about her and her own exhaustion. I told my mom it's fine and that I'll care for the baby and she can sleep. For anyone wondering, I'm working a part-time job as a college student while I'm also studying for college. So it's not like I have plenty of free time to help out more. I decided to sacrifice my own time that day because I felt bad for my mom. Then my sister called me and thanked me, but I told her that I appreciate her being thankful, but at the same time this can't keep happening. I asked her why her husband couldn't keep the kid, and she said that he was tired from work and wanted to sleep, so he told her to take the baby to our mom. I told my sister that her husband should be ashamed of himself, and that he has a lot of nerve to pull the tired card when he is the parent, and doesn't respect the fact that our mom, who's a 62-year-old woman, is working 12 hours and can't even get half an hour of sleep because he refuses to be a parent. My sister got really mad at me and told me to never speak of her husband like that again. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not an a-hole. Your sister is an a-hole and her husband is a mega worthless a-hole. You're not. Like, cry me a river that you're tired, dude. Tough luck. Your kid comes first. The fact that your sister has no problem with that is a big issue. All parents are tired. You can't just not be a parent anymore because you're tired. Get the heck over it. Rant over. This The sister has two options: leave the baby with her husband or take the baby to her appointment. For 8 years, my husband was gone for 12-hour days, but I had to take my kids with me to all my appointments. I think I asked my mom 3 times for help during those 8 years. She came once when I had to go to the urgent care. The other 2 times she said she couldn't, so I had to take them with me. I took a newborn with me to therapy. I took 3 kids with me to get steroid shots in the butt. I just didn't have a choice. So the sister can do one of those things, but she can't keep burdening her mom. Not stay home. Her husband is a jackass and somebody should talk to him that way. His mother apparently didn't raise him right. His mother is a whole other story. She wore black to their wedding because she was mourning that she was losing her son to my sister. She also expects my sister to be a full-time housewife but still maintain her job. Her son is her baby. How about he has his mom take care of the baby? You see, he doesn't want to exhaust her. Yes, I know. Not stay home. Your sister got mad because she knows you're right. She's likely in denial that she just had a baby with someone who is showing little to no interest in actually parenting. And realizing that other people are noticing this as well makes it harder to maintain that denial. First story is titled, "Am I the a-hole for telling some of my siblings it would be too awkward if I invited them to my wedding?" Not a typical one. I have 2 biological brothers and I have 3 half-adoptive siblings and 1 stepsister. My dad married my adoptive mom when I was a year old and my brothers were a little older. My dad also adopted 3 of my step-siblings, the 3 half-adoptive siblings. I only use specifics so it makes sense. Anyway, when I was 9, my dad and mom died in a car accident, leaving all of us without parents. My stepsister took her biological siblings in, and our grandparents helped her, but they left me and my brothers go into foster care and did not keep in touch with us. They also did not let us keep in touch with our siblings. When I turned 18, I, along with my brothers, reached out to our other siblings, only to be told it would be too weird and awkward to reconnect after everything. It hurt, I'm not going to lie. I spent so many years excited to see them again, and they rejected us. Last year, my brothers reconnected with them, but I didn't. They didn't show that much enthusiasm then either. But when I announced my engagement, they got more interested and have tried since. But they have also asked me straight up about inviting them. My reply was, it would be too weird and awkward to have them there after everything. They did not like my reply. They said I'm being really unfair to them and we're still family. Yeah, but I want to know they give a care, not that they want a fun day out, because they only seem to be invested now after the wedding announcement. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. This is all very sad. I'm sorry this is your backstory. I'm glad things seem to be looking up. You've done well to make it through this kind of an ideal childhood. Understatement, with your sense of self and of right and wrong intact. Very obvious not the a-hole. Congratulations on your wedding. Thanks. It sucks. It does. I knew their older sister didn't exactly think much of me and my brothers, but I was hoping my other siblings would still care more. Like, I get it must have been weird for them, and who knows what their sister and extended family said, but we spent 8 years as family. They were all older than me and we had been close. Knowing they didn't even want to gradually build back up for so many years sucks. And we lost the people who connected us all. I miss them so much. And we lost the people who connected us all. I miss them so much. I'm not sure who you are referring to with the above. If it is your parents, all I can say is, I'm sorry. So sorry. If it is people who are still alive, please understand that choice and the option to rekindle a relationship is apparently there for you to make and take, if you want it. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty about not wanting a relationship though. Do what works for you. I meant my parents, our parents. They were the ones who made us a family. The extended family and my stepsister did not. They never considered me and my brothers the same, which I do get. It's just, I know that apparently the plans had been for them to take us all. I think my adoptive grandparents, so I will always wonder if things had just changed, or they just agreed to agreements could be made, and they could get their real grandkids without any issue. But then stepsister wanted her siblings, and it worked for them. Not at a-hole. It's weird and awkward that they'd even ask you. Yeah, you start with something low stakes like brunch and build from there. Not a wedding. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not going along with being adopted to make everyone happy? I hate to post here because I know there are so many of these, but I really need to hear what you all think. I, 16 female, lost my mom when I was 7. My sister was 2 at the time and my brother was a few months old. Our dad met my stepmom about a year later and started dating her 6 months after they met. It was a thing for single parents. She had 2 kids who were close in age to my siblings. After they got married, things were fine at first, and then they wanted to adopt each other's kids. Her kids were excited, as were my siblings, but I did not want to be adopted. This wasn't made into a huge deal, but they really quizzed me on why, and tried to figure out if they could change my mind. They weren't able to, and I know this really hurts her feelings. Over the years, it was let go. They adopted the other kids and everyone was happy, or so I thought. It seems like it made them unhappy I said no to the adoption, and my siblings have wondered why I didn't want to be adopted too. I love my stepmom. I get along with her really well. I think she's great, but I don't love her the same as I love my mom or dad. It's different with her. Not bad, just not as close. That for me was reason enough to not be adopted. But there's also the fact I don't want my mom's name erased from everything. I know they're not trying to replace her, but if I'm adopted, her name is no longer the legal name I put down. It doesn't change biology, but it does make my stepmom my mom. And no matter how much I care about her, I just don't want her to be my mom in all official senses of the word. It has come up again because they offered the adoption again and my answer was the same. My dad decided we needed to go to therapy, the 3 of us, and the therapist told them they couldn't therapy me into agreeing. My stepmom said it's not about that for her. She just wants to know what she did wrong and why I'm opposed. My dad said he feels like I'm holding back, and he said there is an unhappiness with the fact I have kept myself on the outside by not becoming a more official part of the family unit. It bothers me, but part of me feels bad that this is something that makes them so unhappy. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. The therapist told them they couldn't therapy me into agreeing. That therapist is awesome. Not an a-hole. This whole thing seems to be going in the right direction. Dad and stepmom are upset and they are seeking help. The therapist sounds like someone that might make them realize that they need to make peace with the situation. Hopefully they listen to the therapist. Both dad and stepmom seem to think that the normal response is an enthusiastic yes to adoption. Hence, stepmoms, I just want to know what I did wrong, since no is only possible because something went wrong. But Opie's reasons are so utterly reasonable and understandable. Their inability to hear her on this just seems like deliberate disregard of Opie's needs and boundaries. If you've explained your reasoning to them the way you have here, and they still refuse to hear you, then they're being a-holes. Yes, they think they're doing the right thing and they're doing it out of love, but it's misguided as hell. They're a-holes because they can't seem to understand that being part of their family doesn't have to mean cutting your mom and her legacy out of your life. Not an a-hole. Not an a-hole. No one can dictate what your feelings are. Good for the therapist for saying that. I can see where the stepmom is coming from with her "what have I done wrong" thing, but she doesn't have to have done anything wrong. You can't really help how you feel. I can see where the stepmom is coming from with her "what have I done wrong" thing, but she doesn't have to have done anything wrong. You can't really help how you feel. Same, but Opie, it's not your job beyond a certain point to make her feel better. I think you can say what you have said above in therapy, that you love her, but you don't want to lose this connection to your mom. It's not about being outside the rest of the family. It's about keeping another very important connection. The people we loved live inside us forever through these connections. Opie, sorry about your mom, honey. It's the worst. You're not the a-hole. Not the a-hole? Tell your stepmom she's not doing anything wrong except putting pressure on you to be adopted. You just don't want to erase your mother from your legal history and family. And ask your dad why you need to replace and erase your biological mother, whom he too presumably loved once, to be fully part of the family. Step-parents and step-siblings are family too. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my brother the truth about his dad and why I wasn't around? My ex-stepdad and I, 25 male, have a complicated relationship. I'm not his biological son, but my mom got pregnant when they were married. No, she didn't cheat. But due to a rule on this sub, I can't go into detail about my conception. I'll just say he hated me because I was a reminder of a horrible time, even though my mom loved me wholeheartedly. After my brother, 19 male, Steve, was born, he made it more obvious how much he didn't love me and treated Steve so much better. My mom had fights with him all the time over how he treated me, and they divorced when I was 8. They split custody of Steve, and I stayed with my mom. I was really close to my brother as we grew up and we loved spending time together. Our mom passed away when I was 20 and Steve was 14. He stayed with his dad full-time after that, and when I started trying to come over for visits, his dad told me to get lost. He refused to let me see Steve. And just because my mom facilitated a relationship between us doesn't mean he's going to. Knowing the truth now about how everything happened, I understood why he hated me so much and didn't want me around, but it still hurts not seeing my brother anymore. I came by a few more times and tried to message Steve on Twitter and Instagram, but his dad blocked me in those. I gave up in the end and let it be. Steve is 19 now, and he contacted me for the first time in years. It was awesome to finally see him again, even if it was weird too, since it felt like we were strangers. We've been talking a while, and the other day he came to my place. During our conversation, he talked about how he was mad at me for years for ditching him after mom died, and that's why it took him a while till he was ready to reach out to me. I got so mad that he told my brother that I was the one who didn't want to be around when that's all I tried to do. So I told Steve the truth, the fact that I wanted to be around him and tried visiting, why his dad was always a jerk to me, and how that's mainly the reason why he didn't want me around anymore after mom passed. This was a major shock to my brother and he left. Steve didn't text me for days, till he told me it's because he left his dad's house and is living with a friend now. My grandparents, his parents, they accepted me as their family, have called to tell me off for revealing this to Steve when it wasn't going to do him any good. They're saying I've now ruined his relationship with his dad, and I should be ashamed for dragging up the past again instead of moving on. His dad is very pissed off with me, and so are they. That I should have let it be and continued rebuilding my relationship with Steve since he was obviously not mad at me anymore over the lie his dad told him. I don't know, it feels crazy getting crap for being honest, but in this case they say it wasn't necessary when it's caused a lot of problems with Steve and his dad, since now he doesn't want to talk to him. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Isn't reasonable that they expect you to play along with their lies, which painted you as the bad, neglectful brother. His dad brought this on himself. Exactly. OP didn't ruin the stepfather relationship. He revealed the truth about the relationship and exposed the lie. The stepdad is mad not because he was ashamed of what he had done, but the truth was told. Seems complicated, and I may be missing info, but overall I have to say not the a-hole. They were all lying to him. Why should you continue to lie? What good would that do? Nah, they're a-holes. It's very complicated, yeah. They only think I should have kept up with the lie because he'd already moved on from it and wasn't mad at me anymore. What about the real problem here, which is the fact that your father held an innocent responsible for something he had absolutely no say in? If you were born in unfortunate circumstances, well, damn, that's too bad. But hating you and keeping you from your brother was a total crap move. Your brother deserved to know the truth. Lying to him, like all the rest of them are, is not the answer. Now, reconciliation is right where it needs to be. It has been long. In your father's hands. Not the a-hole. Very glad for your reconciliation with your brother. Right? His mom was able to love him despite the circumstances of his conception, and the fact the stepdad couldn't even be kind to him for her sake is just wow. I don't want to assume here, but for some men, when something like that happens to their partners, feel emasculated somehow, like it's an offense on their manhood / property rather than being concerned and upset for the victim. To me, it kinda sounds like that could have been going on here. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for saying I won't apologize because I'm not sorry? I don't want to make this long. My parents are divorced. Dad is remarried. He and his wife started dating 9 years ago, married 6 years ago. I'm 16, my brother is 14. I have a stepsister who is 15 and another who is 11. We started family therapy at my dad's request because we're not blended and he wanted to try and fix that. This incident came up. When I was 12, my mom agreed to let my friends and I go to this really cool water park for my birthday. She told me I could invite whoever and also offered me the choice to not bring my brother, but I wanted him there too. So it was the two of us and my 5 closest friends. Apparently, my 15-year-old stepsister had wanted to go and heard about it through school, and she also heard me tell my friends I didn't have a limit on who I could invite, so she waited expecting me to invite her. But I didn't, and it hurt her feelings. She brought it up in therapy as the reason she stopped caring about getting along with me and my brother. My dad was pissed, said at the time he talked to my mom and she said it wasn't her job to include his family. He said this in therapy. The therapist asked if I would be willing to apologize. I said no. My dad's wife asked me why, and I said because I'm not sorry. That it was my birthday, and there should never have been an expectation that I would invite either of the girls because we weren't friends or close in terms of family. I said it sucked that her feelings got hurt, but she also shouldn't have snooped on me in school. She claimed she didn't, but then could bring up other conversations I had with my friends that were not loud enough for everyone to hear. And then it came out she used to try to hear what I would say about her. My dad thinks I'm wrong to not apologize for doing something that hurt her when inclusion is not a bad thing. I don't think so, but I'm open to hearing what others think. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. It was your birthday, and you didn't want to invite someone you are not close to and who snooped on private conversations. Can't say blame you for not liking stepsis. What's the saying? You never hear anything good about yourself when you eavesdrop? Not the a-hole. You handled this situation well. I hope the therapist stepped in to support you. Not the a-hole and this. I hope the therapist didn't let your dad harp on you in the session. That wouldn't be a very responsible therapist, especially considering you were 12 at the time of the event. Not the a-hole. Forced apologies are just words and don't mean anything. They have failed as parents if they don't understand and didn't teach their kids that sometimes they get to do things that other kids can't, and sometimes they can't do what other kids do. If she had a party somewhere with all of her friends, I highly doubt she would have given you an invite to hang out with them. A 12-year-old boy doesn't want his 15-year-old stepsister at a water park with his friends and peers, and that goes for her too, if the roles were reversed. And you don't need to feel bad about that. 3 years isn't a lot, but at that age, it is. And you weren't close to her, so it's completely reasonable that you didn't invite her given the option. Your stepsister needs to understand that she can't always get what she wants, and snooping on you isn't going to help your relationship any. She's 15 now, was 11 when the birthday party happened. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad he needs to babysit his own children for once? So I'm 15 female, I'm the second oldest child out of 5. My older brother has moved out and so it's me, my 2 younger brothers, one's 12, one's 4, and my younger sister, 3. When my mom was pregnant with my sister, I would be happy to look after my younger brother because I understood it was hard on my parents at the time. But this eventually became a regular thing, that I would babysit my brother and then when my sister was born, I would also have to babysit her. It wasn't too bad at first until my mom took up some hobbies. She would go to fitness classes 3 days or 4 days a week for an hour in the evening. And so my parents got into the routine that whenever my mom went to a class, I would have to babysit my siblings. Which was extremely hard as I'm only a young teenage girl and I could not cope with a baby and a toddler on my own. Fast forward to present time where this is still going on. And although it's easier because I don't have to deal with a baby anymore, it's still hard. And now whenever my mom goes to her class, my dad will give some excuse as to why he has to go into the garden or garage to avoid looking after my siblings. So today it happened again, I was looking after my siblings. I went to the toilets because I needed to go, and then I hear my dad come in and start screaming my name. I come out the bathroom to see my dad standing outside my brother's bedroom door and my little brother holding deodorant. My dad then begins to shout at me telling me I'm lazy and never do anything, and that I can't even look after my own brother. For context, my younger brother had taken the deodorant and sprayed it everywhere. And at this point, I had enough. So I turned to my dad and said, well, maybe this wouldn't have happened if you would just look after your own children for once. Then my mom came home, and my dad proceeded to blame everything on me, that I was being bratty and lazy. So, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Parents aren't babysitters. They're parents. They're neglecting the responsibility of being a parent and passing it off on the daughter. This isn't uncommon. I'm sorry. The title should be read as, Am I the a-hole for telling my dad he needs to parent his own children for once? Not the a-hole. You had to use the bathroom. You're telling me back when you were a toddler and your brother was a baby that they didn't leave you for just a little bit to go answer the call of nature? I'd like to know what your mother thinks of the fact that your father does nothing but tell you to babysit his children. What happened next in the story? Did your mother believe him or you? My mom and dad have a rocky relationship. My mom does believe me. However, she won't bring this up with my dad to avoid arguments. It's extremely frustrating because I would like it to be addressed to my dad properly by my mom, but only ever is when they are having a drunk argument and using me as a piggy in the middle to try prove points. And by morning, they forget almost all the arguments anyways. That's an extremely abusive behavior. Please get some help. It's not your responsibility to take care of your siblings, nor fix your parents' relationships. Not today, Hall. Do you know your mom's schedule for when she's going to classes? Start leaving shortly before she leaves. It's one thing asking you to watch them when they're both at work or for occasional date night, but multiple times a week when dad is in fact home is horrible. You're their child, not their live-in nanny. Not today, Hall. Parentification is mistreatment. This is why some kids cut their parents off at 18 and never want children of their own. I actually relate to this. I don't really want children of my own. I have decided to move to England and live with my grandparents for college. If I do ever have kids, I will only at most have 2, and they will be close in age. I know it sounds strange to have all this planned out at this age, but I'm really confident about my feelings towards my future. Next story. Am I the a-hole if I disengage from stepkids? My husband has 2 kids in their mid to upper teens. These kids do not like me and see me as the reason their parents will not reconcile at any point. I was not the other woman, as my husband and his ex were divorced 4 years before he and I met. These kiddos dislike me because I'm with their dad, and they feel he should either be with their mom or alone and unhappy. I have tried for years to build a relationship and find shared interests with them, but it has gone and continues to go nowhere. I have included them in everything I can, and planned stuff and outings I know they'd enjoy for us to spend time together and bond. Here's an example. They like scavenger hunts. Husband invites them to come over for a scavenger hunt at the zoo, and they're excited about it. Then he tells them I'm the one who planned it for them, and suddenly they no longer have interest, and that scavenger hunts are boring and for losers. Example 2. I planned and decorated and made the cake for the younger one's birthday. Kiddo thought it was great until her dad mentioned how much work I put into her party. After that, she just wanted the party to end and complained how everything was awful and nothing was what she wanted. Example 3. I got them beautiful Pandora bracelets they wanted for Christmas, but because they were for me, they got thrown to the side and not worn because nobody likes Pandora anymore. Example 4. The kids have told me in no uncertain terms the entire reason they hate me is because I'm with their dad, and that's unforgivable to them. That's just a few examples, but I have so many others, and to be honest, it's hard to take. When the kids are here, they make a point to not speak to me, or if they do, it's very short and they're disrespectful. They refuse to say thank you to me. And yes, my husband gets on them about it, but then they scream and cry that they want to go home and they hate both of us. Am I the a-hole if I disengage from them? Not permanently, but to take time to focus on my mental health. Not the a-hole. Your stepchildren aren't interested in having a relationship with you. You've tried. They're not receptive. Go about your business. Be cordial. But if they don't appreciate your efforts, there is no need to go all out. They live in a fantasy where they believe that if it weren't for you, their parents would be together again. It really sounds as if their mom feeds this fantasy. My cousins and aunts were exactly the same, and it created for a horrible relationship with their father and stepmom even though they got together years later too. The mom does. A few years ago, we all went to a water park resort. Husband, me, stepkids, and my kids. And the mom pulled this whole thing about if I wasn't around, it could have been them going as a family. But since I'm in the picture, that's never going to happen and they'll never be a real family again. Not the a-hole. They obviously don't want you to put effort into a relationship with them, so don't do it. Don't do anything to spite the kids, but don't do anything extra. Not the a-hole depending on what you mean by disengage. I think it's absolutely appropriate for you to take a step back from the relationship, as it is clearly bringing you great stress and upset to the detriment of your mental health. Still be present, kind, and engage with them where appropriate, but stop going out of your way to plan, bake, and buy for them. Perhaps when they've grown up a bit, they will have a change of heart and be more accepting of you as their family. Perhaps not. But right now, they've made their thoughts and feelings clear, and I think it's right for you to acknowledge that, and do what you need to do to remain happy. Wishing you the very best of luck. Info. Does your husband see this behavior from them? Does he do anything to address it? He should at the very least be supporting you. How does he feel about his children treating you this way? He's not happy, and had talked to them several times, but the end is the same. They don't care how they treat me and will never like me no matter what. Based on your reply, you are not the a-hole. It sounds like you are making very thoughtful efforts to show them that you care, and they are rebuffing you at every turn. At this point, you need to take care of yourself. You aren't so much backing away from the daughters, as you are respecting their wishes that you are not involved with them. I'm sorry that this is such a tough situation, though it's good to see that your husband truly sees what's happening. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for shutting down my parents after they brought up a crappy story at my brother's graduation? I'm 5 years older than my brother. When he was born, I wasn't very happy with him and tried to give him away many times. I even tried to run away to my uncle's house because I didn't want to share the house with him. It took about a year for me to adapt, and when I did, I loved him and I loved being his older sibling. But my parents love to talk about the first year of his life and how I reacted to him. They bring it up at Christmas, birthdays, family weddings, etc. And it annoys me and hurts my brother, which annoys me even more. He's sensitive to the fact that while we're great now, I disliked him being born so much I wanted to give him away, and tried to run away when he wasn't sent away. I get why he feels that way too. Anyway, he graduated high school this summer, and we had a small thing at home with his girlfriend's family, my husband's family, and our family. And at this graduation party, our parents proceeded to go into the stories again. Only this time they brought up the two worst ones. The time I actually took him outside while my parents weren't looking and asked a random neighbor to take him. And the time I actually left our home and made it all the way to my uncle's because I didn't want to live with him anymore. My parents find both of these stories hilarious and laughed their butts off, while my brother looked so upset and I was trying to keep it cool. I have apologized many times to him at any time he knew to us stories mentioned. But this time, I couldn't keep my anger in check, and snapped. I asked them why they felt the need to bring them up still, that it hurts my brother every damn time, and what is the point? Is it to punish me? Do they really think it's funny that I try to give my brother away multiple times and actually run away from home? Did they really think other people wanted to hear it? My brother ended up coming to stay with me and my husband. Our parents said I was an a-hole for blowing up at them like that. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Sometimes parents are absolutely clueless and don't understand their kids are embarrassed and hurt from the old stories they share. Draw up a contract that says they will never bring it up again and make them sign it. Maybe they'll understand then. Or just start not inviting them to events and not hiding it. I feel like little brother moving out to live with big sister may help reinforce it without making a contract which the parents will probably just laugh at. Not the a-hole. If your parents are aware of what it means to you and they still go around telling these stories, they must know he doesn't like it and it can be very upsetting to hear. Putting social approval above your children makes your parents a-holes. It's weird too, because I don't know how many people would readily admit they didn't notice their 5-year-old was missing for a whole 30 minutes, which is how long it took me to get to my uncle and for him to call me. Info. Have you ever told your parents how you feel about all this? Reaction was perhaps a bit strong if not. Either way though, not the a-hole. Yeah, when I got married it came up twice directly. I even stopped them making a speech because I didn't want that broadcast at my wedding. They always find a way to tell the worst ones, or go into the most detail when it's public. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my biological mother that my best friend's mother is more of a parent than she'll ever be? I, 18 female, met my best friend Grace, 18 female, in 3rd grade. My mother had never filled out my free lunch form, and it defaulted to having to pay. No matter how many times I told my mother she never gave me lunch money, packed a lunch, or filled out a form. Grace noticed I wasn't eating, or would always have to get a cereal and milk for lunch. She started offering me her fruit snacks and juice and saying she didn't want them. After a few weeks, I guess she told her mom, and she would suddenly have 2 of everything, and would give the extra to me. When Grace's birthday came around, her parents threw her a party and I was invited. My mother needed a break and decided that a party plus sleepover was the perfect time. Grace's mom, Lily, 39 female, was really nice. It was kind of off-putting at first. My mother was/is very mean and has been in my entire life. It wasn't even a sleepover, but my mother had dropped me off and disappeared, so Lily let me stay the weekend. Grace and I became really close after that. We were basically inseparable, even if we were in different classes. My mother was missing in action, and she didn't care where I was half the time, especially as I entered middle and high school. Lily and Grace were really close. I was jealous as a kid, but Lily was always very welcoming to me. Lily, Grace, and I would go shopping together. She would buy everything for me and wouldn't allow me to complain. She got me my first bras and menstrual products. She would always buy me birthday presents, and when I was younger, she would also do my hair. My mom didn't really buy me clothes, but Lily always did. That or Grace would have clothes she didn't want anymore. Then my mom kicked me out when I was 16. I didn't want Lily to call CPS because every time they were contacted, they did nothing but send me back because my mother provided the bare necessities. So I moved in with Grace and her family. They had a spare room that they turned into a bedroom for me, and I've been living here ever since. Anyways, Grace and I graduated a few weeks ago. I guess my mother heard because she showed up at the graduation and started bragging about how proud of me she was. She kept saying she had gotten me to where I am today, even though I hadn't spoken to her since she had kicked me out. I started getting really pissed. I didn't understand how she could just show up out of the blue like that and started claiming anything about me. She wouldn't stop no matter how many times I told her to, so I left with Grace's family. I texted her afterwards saying she was never a mother to me, and that Lily was the mother I wanted and needed. She screenshotted and sent it around. Then my grandparents and aunts started messaging me, calling me an a-hole for saying what I did. They kept telling me that she struggled with being a parent. I know my mother had a rough upbringing herself, and they keep bringing that up. Now I'm starting to feel bad. Maybe I just shouldn't have said anything at all. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She wasn't a mom, and still isn't. No need for you to be upset that the rest of the family can't see her like you do. Tell the rest of your parents, and send a screenshot of your room at the new place too, and tell them you got kicked out and lived there since then, and everything Lily did for you. And if they don't support you or anything at all, go low contact or no contact because they don't care about you. I mean, she's right. She did get you where you are today. Her crappy parenting drove you into another family that supported you and loved you and cared for you. So she's not wrong, but she is going about it the wrong way. Not an a-hole for your honesty. And if the words of your random internet stranger mean anything to you, I'm impressed by you for turning a bad situation into a good one. Your mom showed her true colors and you turned the mirror. It's not your fault she didn't like what it showed. Just because I survived you doesn't mean you did a good job. You mentioned your mother had a rough upbringing herself. Would this, by chance, be the same people who are currently calling you an a-hole? Her parents and her sister? If they did such a wonderful job, how on earth are they justified in commenting at all? Their opinion is irrelevant. Parenting is actions, not biology. Some people just aren't cut out for it. Fortunately, you have a wonderful example of the caring parent. It just doesn't happen to be your biological mother. Treasure your choice, Mom. So they know she struggled, but didn't help? Didn't buy food or clothes, didn't babysit or pitch in to give her a break. Ignore the fact Opie lived at a friend's home for years and didn't open their home to her. They either watched all of this happen and turned a blind eye, or they didn't care enough to check in with Opie. Either way, they have no business commenting.